He shot him in the neck and blood went everywhere. And the worst part of it all was the liberals who were there were cheering.
To those who are celebrating this man's death, let me paint this picture for you. Imagine this with me, if you will. Charlie Kirk woke up on the morning of September 10th. To him, it was just another day. The sun probably crept through the blinds of his home like it did every other morning. He likely had a routine. The kind of quiet, automatic things you do before the world wakes up and demands your attention. Maybe he checked his phone, scrolling through the news, seeing what political fires he'd have to put out, or maybe even start later that day. A big event was planned, but for those first few moments he was just a husband, a father, a man enjoying the calm before the storm of public life. You have to wonder what was on his mind. Was he thinking about how today's debate was going to go? Or was it something simpler, like what his kids would have for breakfast? It's these small, human details that get lost in the headlines. We see the public figure, the political combatant, the founder of Turning Point USA. But in that quiet house, he was just Charlie. Their Charlie, nothing more, nothing less. The event was set up just like hundreds of others he had done. A stage, a podium, and a crowd of eager and not-so-eager college students. But this time was different. His family was there. His wife, Erica, sat in the front row, a proud and supportive partner, as she had always been. His young children were there too, perhaps a little restless, but there to see their dad do what he did best. For them, this wasn't a political battleground. It was just Daddy's work. Seeing your family in the audience can be a source of strength, a reminder of what you're fighting for. But on that day, their presence transformed a public tragedy into an intimate, unspeakable horror. A nightmare played out in front of their very eyes. Imagine being Erica in that moment. 1 second, you're watching your husband on stage, a man you love, a man full of life and conviction, commanding the room with his powerful voice. He's in his element, debating, arguing, smiling. You're probably filled with pride, maybe a little bit of the usual nervousness you feel when he's in the spotlight. You're watching him, and your children are watching him. It's a family moment, albeit a public one. Then, in the blink of an eye, the sound of a gunshot rips through the air, and the man you built a life with, the father of your children, collapses. The world just stops. What goes through a person's mind? It's not a political thought, it's a primal scream of no. So, how did we get here? How did we arrive at a place where a man can be killed for his words, for his beliefs, in the middle of a peaceful debate? Charlie Kirk was not inciting violence. He was on a stage, participating in a sanctioned university event, engaging in the very act of free speech that America is supposed to be built on. You can disagree with him. You can despise his politics. You can think everything he said was wrong, but he was using his voice, not his fists. He was armed with talking points and statistics, not a weapon. He was doing exactly what we tell people to do: debate, discuss, and engage in the civil process. The problem is, we've forgotten how to disagree. Our society has become so polarized, so tribal, that we no longer see the person on the other side of the political aisle as a fellow citizen with a different opinion. We see them as an enemy, as something evil that must be destroyed, not debated. Social media algorithms feed us our own opinions back to us, creating echo chambers where disagreement feels like a personal attack. We've lost the ability to say, I don't agree with you, but I respect your right to say it. Instead, disagreement is met with rage, with calls for deplatforming, and now, with the ultimate act of censorship, violence. To understand Charlie Kirk's legacy, you have to look at his impact on young people. While many political commentators focus on an older audience, Charlie's entire mission was centered on college campuses. He saw that universities, once bastions of free thought and diverse viewpoints, were becoming ideologically monolithic. He founded Turning Point USA to be a counter-voice, to give conservative students a platform and the confidence to speak up. He knew that the future of the country was being shaped in those lecture halls and on those quads, and he was determined to be a part of that conversation, whether he was invited or not. His work during the 2024 election was particularly significant. He wasn't just rallying for a candidate, he was on a mission to educate students about the mechanics of democracy itself. He held events explaining the Electoral College, the importance of local elections, and the philosophical underpinnings of the Constitution. He might have been doing it from a conservative perspective, but he was engaging young people in the political process, many for the first time. He made politics accessible and, for his followers, honestly exciting. He understood that if you want to win the future, you have to win the youth. Of course, his presence was incredibly polarizing. For every student wearing a USA hat who saw him as a hero, there was another protesting outside, seeing him as a purveyor of hate and division. But what his critics often missed was that the controversy itself was part of his strategy. The protest drew media attention, which amplified his message far beyond the walls of the auditorium. You can argue with his methods, you can disagree with his ideology, but you cannot deny his effectiveness. In the end, how will we remember Charlie Kirk? Politics is fleeting, and today's headlines will be tomorrow's history footnotes. But his story, and especially the tragic way it ended, transcends his political affiliation. He became a martyr, not for conservatism, but for the fundamental American principle of free speech. He was a man who went into the arena of ideas armed only with his words and was met with a bullet. His death serves as a chilling and potent symbol of a democracy in crisis, a society that has lost its way and forgotten the basic rules of civil engagement. He will be remembered as an American hero. Now, I know that word, hero, is loaded, especially in politics. For many, he was the opposite. But a hero isn't someone we all agree with. A hero is someone who stands for a principle, even in the face of adversity. Charlie Kirk stood for the principle that you should be able to speak your mind without fear of violence. He practiced what he preached, showing up in places where he was not welcome, to have conversations that were uncomfortable. His legacy should be a wake-up call for all of us. It's a demand that we look in the mirror and ask ourselves what kind of country we want to live in. The choice is ours, and the stakes have never been higher.